My name is Skylar Bennett, 30 years old, and I'm still trying to understand how someone can look you in the eyes, talk about forever, and then turn your worst night into a joke for strangers. 2 weeks ago, my boyfriend Logan Pierce and I were supposed to try this new restaurant he'd been hyping up for days. He sent me the menu screenshots like it was a love language. Wear the black dress, he texted. I want people to know you're mine. I remember smiling at my phone, thinking it was cheesy, but sweet. 3 years together does that. It makes you assume you've earned safety. It makes you stop looking for the knife. Then Friday evening hit. At 6 p.m., my mom called. Her voice was wrong, slurred, confused around the edges, like her mouth couldn't keep up with her thoughts. Sky? She said, and my heart dropped because my mom never sounds small. Not my mom, not Linda Bennett, the woman who raised me alone after my dad died when I was 12, who worked her way through law school with a baby on her hip and a stack of textbooks on the kitchen table. My mom is the kind of woman who doesn't ask for help. So when she called sounding scared, my body moved before my brain did. Mom, where are you? I snapped, already grabbing my keys. At home, she said. I think something's wrong. I didn't even change my shoes. I just ran. On the drive, I called Logan. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the phone. Hey, he answered, bright, like he'd been waiting for me to say something cute. Logan, my mom's not okay, I blurted. I think it might be a stroke. I'm going to her house. I can't. Dinner's off. There was a pause. Then the little sigh, the one that always came right before he tried to sound like a good man. Okay, he said. Yeah, of course, go. We can reschedule. His voice was calm, but it didn't comfort me. It felt performed, like he was saying the correct line. I didn't have time to analyze it. I was too busy imagining my mom on the floor, alone. When I got to her house, she was sitting on the couch with her phone in her lap, staring at the wall like it was moving. Hey, I said, kneeling in front of her. Look at me. Can you smile? Show me your teeth. She tried. It was uneven. I called 911 with my fingers numb. At the ER, the lights were harsh and the chairs were hard and time got strange. Doctors asked questions. Nurses moved fast. Machines beeped like they were counting down to something. I texted Logan once. We're at the hospital. I'll update you. He replied, okay. That was it. No. Is she okay? No. Do you need me? Just okay. But again, I told myself not to be unfair. People handle stress differently. Maybe he didn't know what to say. Maybe he was giving me space. I spent the night in that ER, watching my mom drift in and out, watching her hands tremble when she tried to sign paperwork. I kept thinking, please don't take her from me too. Saturday and Sunday were a blur of follow-up appointments, medication reviews, and me hovering like if I looked away for 1 second, something terrible would happen. Turns out it wasn't a stroke, a medication interaction, symptoms that mimicked one. Relief hit so hard I cried in the car in the hospital parking lot, my forehead pressed against the steering wheel, like I'd been holding my breath for 2 days. I called Logan. He didn't answer. I texted, she's okay, not a stroke, I'm exhausted. Can we talk later? No response. By Monday, I thought maybe he was upset about dinner. But that felt ridiculous, until I understood what was really happening. Because Monday afternoon, my mom's friend Betty came over. Betty is one of those women who always carries peppermint gum and speaks with the confidence of someone who has never once been ignored in her life. She's known my mom forever, and she's the type who still calls her Linda, like they're in court together. She walked into the kitchen with her phone out, face tight. Skylar, she said, I didn't want your mother to see this, but she already did, and I'm sorry. My stomach went cold. What? I whispered. Betty turned her phone around, and there it was. Logan's post. Not one, multiple. Instagram story. Facebook status. Even a little caption on a selfie. Him in a clean shirt, in good lighting, like he'd been waiting for the chance to look like the victim. When your girlfriend chooses her mom over date night, red flags, anyone? My breath caught. Below that, comments from his friends. Someone wrote, hope her mom's okay? And Logan replied, she's fine, just dramatic. Probably wanted attention since Skylar's been focusing on me lately. Another person joked, some girls never cut the apron strings. Logan liked it like it was funny. Like my mother's fear was entertainment. I felt like I'd been slapped, but worse, because a slap ends. This stayed inside me, spreading. My mom stood in the doorway, silent. Her eyes were glossy, but not with sadness, with fury, the kind that makes you calm and dangerous. I raised you to choose good people, she said softly. And this man, he doesn't respect you, or me, or this family. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. My throat was too tight. My hands were shaking so hard the phone screen blurred. I was scared, I managed. I thought she was going to... My voice cracked, and I hated that it cracked, because Logan's friends would call it dramatic too. My mom's jaw clenched. He made our private crisis into his public drama, she said, and he did it while I was lying in a hospital bed. Betty reached over and squeezed my mom's shoulder. Linda, she murmured, I saved screenshots, everything. My mom nodded once. Then she looked at me again. And the worst part, she said, voice low, is that he thinks this is normal. That sentence landed like a weight, because she was right. It wasn't the first time Logan had used social media like a weapon. When we argued about moving in together, he posted some quote about knowing your worth. When I couldn't afford the vacation he wanted, he posted about settling for less than you deserve. Every disagreement became content. Every boundary I set became a story where he was misunderstood and I was the villain. And I kept excusing it. I told myself he was expressive, sensitive, just venting. But now I could see the pattern like a stitched line. He didn't communicate with me. He performed at me for an audience. My phone buzzed. A notification. Logan had posted again. Betty leaned closer. Oh my God. The new caption read, some people use family emergencies as an excuse to avoid real commitment. I stared at it, my vision tunneling. He wasn't just mocking my mom. He was rewriting me, turning me into a woman who avoids commitment when I'd been sitting in an ER praying my mother wouldn't die. I called him immediately. Straight to voicemail. I called again. Voicemail. Text. We need to talk. Now. Nothing. And that's when the fear shifted. Not fear about my mom's health. Fear about who I'd been sleeping next to for 3 years. Because if he could do this, if he could watch me drown and still pull out his phone to film the splash, then what was I to him? A girlfriend or a storyline? That night, my mom sat at the dining table with her laptop open, calm as ice, scrolling through screenshots like evidence. Betty stood behind her like backup, and I sat there in the dim kitchen light, staring at my phone, watching my messages turn into a row of unanswered blue bubbles. Logan wasn't just ignoring me. He was controlling the silence. And for the first time, I wondered if he wasn't avoiding the conversation, but waiting for the moment he could twist it into something uglier, something public, something that would hurt. The next morning, my mom called me before I even finished my coffee. Sky, she said, voice steady in that way that always meant she'd already made a decision. Can you come over? There was no panic in her tone, no anger, just calm. That scared me more than the ER ever did. When I arrived, her dining table looked like a war room. Laptop open, a manila folder, neatly stacked papers. Everything aligned, like control had been restored. I didn't sleep much, she said, gesturing for me to sit, but I thought very clearly. I nodded, my stomach tight. About Logan? She didn't answer right away. Instead, she slid a document toward me. I updated my estate planning. I blinked. Mom, this isn't because of... It is, she said gently, and it isn't. She leaned back in her chair, fingers folded. The health scare reminded me that life doesn't wait for us to be comfortable, and Logan's behavior reminded me who I don't want benefiting from my life's work. I looked down at the papers. Legal language. Familiar words. My name. There was a provision, she continued, for your future spouse. A trust. $350,000. My breath caught. What? She smiled sadly. I wanted to make sure whoever married you would feel secure, welcomed, taken care of. I felt a lump rise in my throat. Mom, that's incredibly generous. It was, she said, past tense. My heart dropped. I had it removed. I looked up at her, shocked. Because of the posts? Yes. There was no hesitation, no doubt. Skylar, she said, her voice firm but kind, this isn't about revenge. It's about character. Anyone who mocks a family member's health scare, publicly, will never respect this family, and I will not reward that. I swallowed. He doesn't even know. She nodded. Good. I sat back, my thoughts spiraling. Logan had no idea that one careless night, one cruel post, had cost him money he never even knew existed. And suddenly the irony made me feel sick. Mom, are you sure? I asked. What if I talk to him? What if he apologizes? She leaned forward then, eyes sharp in that courtroom way I remembered from childhood. Skylar, apologies given after consequences are discovered are not remorse. They're strategy. That landed hard. I'd spent years explaining Logan's behavior away, calling it stress, calling it insecurity, calling it love, twisted but real. But my mother saw it for what it was. I trust you to make your own choices, she said, reaching for my hand, but I will not leave my legacy to someone who treats my pain like content. I nodded slowly, a weight lifting and settling at the same time. That evening, Logan finally called. His voice was bright, too bright. "You are not going to believe this," he said, barely letting me say hello. "My aunt passed last week, and I just found out she left me 15 grand. Ish." "Logan," I said, already exhausted. "I know, it's not a fortune," he laughed, "but it's a sign. Things are turning around. This is just the beginning." Something in his tone made my skin prickle. "We should celebrate," he continued. Once we're married and your mom, we'll be set. This is how it starts." My grip tightened on the phone. "What do you mean?" He chuckled, like I was being naive. "Come on, Sky, your mom's a retired lawyer. She adores you. We've been together 3 years. We're practically family." I felt my stomach twist. "We could buy a house," he went on, "travel, maybe even start something together. I've been reading about what people like her usually have saved." I closed my eyes. "Logan," I said quietly, "you're talking about my mother like she's an investment." "Oh my God," he scoffed. "Don't be dramatic. I'm just being realistic. She's in her 60s. She just had a health scare." "Stop," I snapped. There was a pause. "I'm not wishing anything bad," he said defensively, "but planning isn't evil. Old parents leave money to the daughter-in-law all the time. It's normal." Daughter-in-law. He said it like it was already done. Like my future, my family, my grief were line items he was entitled to. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed replaying his words, seeing his posts, hearing my mother's calm voice. By morning, the decision felt inevitable. I started looking at apartments. I didn't tell Logan. Not yet. Part of me needed to see how far he'd go before he realized there was nothing left to gain. By Saturday morning, I had a signed lease and a knot in my chest that wouldn't loosen. I kept telling myself this would be simple, painful, yes, but clean. A conversation, some honesty, an ending. I should have known better. I went to Logan's place with a small box of things he'd left at my apartment, a hoodie, a charger, a book he never finished. It felt symbolic, like I was returning pieces of him before I returned myself to my own life. He opened the door, grinning. "You're not going to believe what I've been thinking about," he said, stepping aside to let me in. "This inheritance thing really got me focused." I didn't sit down. "Logan," I said, "we need to talk." "Perfect timing," he replied, already pacing. I was thinking the same thing. I think we should start planning our engagement. There it was. No hesitation. No awareness of the damage he'd already done. "With the money from my aunt," he continued, "we could put a down payment somewhere nice. Maybe near your mom's neighborhood. So we can keep an eye on her as she gets older." The way he said keep an eye on her made my skin crawl. I took a slow breath. "I saw your posts." He froze for half a second, just long enough. "What posts?" "About my mom," I said. "About me choosing her over you. About her being dramatic while she was in the hospital." He rolled his eyes. "Oh my God, Skylar, it was just social media." "That was my mother," I said, my voice shaking despite myself. "She thought she was having a stroke." "And she wasn't," he shot back. "So what's the problem?" I stared at him. "The problem," I said slowly, "is that you turned the worst night of my life into content." He crossed his arms. "I was frustrated. I'm allowed to have feelings." "You mocked her." "I vented," he corrected. "You disappeared on me. We're supposed to be building a life together." "Family emergencies take priority," I said. He scoffed. "See, this is exactly what I'm talking about. You always put her first." I felt something crack. "My future husband," I said, "would understand that." "Well, when we're married," he snapped, "I need to know I come first. I can't compete with your mom forever." That sentence told me everything. I picked up the box from the floor. "This isn't going to work." His face changed instantly. "Wait," he said. "Don't do this. You're being emotional." I turned toward the door. "No, Sky," he said quickly, stepping in front of me. "Think logically." There it was again. Logic, money, leverage. "Between my inheritance and what your mom will leave us," he continued, lowering his voice, "we'd be stupid to throw this away. We're talking real security." I stopped. "What exactly do you think my mom is leaving you?" He laughed. "Come on. We've been together 3 years. She loves you. That means she'll take care of me too. Daughter-in-laws always get something substantial." I looked him straight in the eye. "She updated her will." His smile faltered. "The provision for my future spouse," I continued, "it's gone." Silence. "What?" he whispered. "She removed it after seeing your posts," I said. "That $350,000, you're never seeing a cent of it." His face drained of color. "You're lying," he said. I pulled out my phone and showed him the email my mom had forwarded from her attorney. He read it once, then again. "This is insane," he snapped. "She can't do that." "She already did." He exploded. "How dare she?" he shouted. "I invested 3 years in you. That money should have been ours." I took a step back. There it is, I said quietly. That's who you are. I left while he was still yelling, and for the first time in months, I felt relief. But I didn't realize yet. The public part of this story was just getting started. I woke up Sunday morning to my phone vibrating, like it was having a seizure. Messages, missed calls, notifications stacked on notifications. Before I even opened anything, I already knew. Logan had gone public. His Facebook post was long, carefully written, emotional in that curated, victim-polished way he was so good at. He painted himself as the loyal boyfriend abandoned by a woman controlled by her mother. He talked about how I ran back to my family instead of fighting for our future. He implied my mom manipulated me, rewrote history, and punished him for expressing his feelings. I was tagged. So were mutual friends. Comments poured in. Some people defended him. Some questioned him. Most didn't know what to believe. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the screen, feeling that familiar helplessness, the same one I'd felt in the ER while machines beeped and my mom's hand trembled in mine. Private pain, public spectacle. Again, I didn't respond. I couldn't, because this wasn't about clearing my name anymore. It was about survival. Then Betty stepped in. She didn't comment. She didn't argue. She posted screenshots. Every original story Logan had shared. Every comment calling my mom dramatic. Every joke. Every liked insult. Side by side with his new heartbroken boyfriend narrative. No commentary, just receipts. The internet did the rest. People started asking questions. Pointed ones. So this is expressing feelings? You mocked a health scare. You planned her death financially? Logan panicked. He replied too fast, too emotionally. It was taken out of context. I was venting. She overreacted. But screenshots don't care about spin. By Tuesday, the tone shifted. And that's when Logan showed up at my new apartment. Unannounced. He stood there with an envelope in his hand, eyes wild but calculated. This has gone too far, he said. You and your mom need to fix this. I didn't invite him in. What's that? I asked. A letter, he said, from my attorney. I took it. My hands were steady. His weren't. Inside was a demand. Formal language, thinly veiled threats. He claimed he had made life decisions based on the expectation of inheritance, that my mom's will change caused him financial harm. I almost laughed. Almost. Instead, I called my mom. She laughed for me. Oh, this is adorable, she said. Tell him Patterson's going to enjoy this. Within 48 hours, Logan's attorney backed off. Apparently, threatening your ex's mother over money you were never entitled to is not a strong legal strategy. But Logan wasn't done. He never is. He launched a GoFundMe. Title, Wronged by a Powerful Family. He asked for $50,000 for legal fees and emotional damages. It lasted 3 days. 3. Someone reported it. The platform took it down. And suddenly Logan was posting about being silenced and targeted. Then, my favorite part, he started dating again. Posting pictures. Expensive dinners. A man named Ethan tagged in wine bars and rooftop views. Captions about new beginnings and being valued. By Friday, those posts vanished. Apparently, Ethan Googled him. Funny how the truth travels faster than image. I thought it was over. I was wrong. Because my mother hadn't made her final move yet. I thought the storm would fade on its own. That if I stayed quiet long enough, the internet would get bored and Logan would move on to his next audience. I underestimated my mother. On Wednesday morning, she called me with a tone that instantly transported me back to childhood, back to mornings before court, when she'd already won the case in her head. Skylar, she said, are you busy on Saturday? Yes, I answered cautiously. Good. I need you to trust me. That sentence should have come with a warning label. Saturday morning, we didn't go to brunch. We didn't sit down for a private talk. We walked into a local TV studio, a morning news show. One of my mom's former colleagues worked there, and she'd pitched a segment on how social media behavior creates real-world consequences. She wasn't named as the focus until she was. The host introduced her as Linda Bennett, retired attorney and legal consultant. I sat off camera, heart pounding, watching her sit up straight under studio lights like she'd never left the courtroom. She brought printed documents, Logan's original posts, his rewritten victim narrative, the legal threat, the GoFundMe page. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't insult him. She simply explained. This young man, she said calmly, turned my health scare into entertainment. When he learned there were financial consequences to his choices, he attempted to weaponize the legal system. The host asked what message she wanted to send. My family's pain was not content, my mother replied, and no one is entitled to a reward for disrespect. Then she delivered the final line. The $350,000 originally set aside for my daughter's future spouse has been donated to cancer research in memory of my late husband. The segment went viral locally by Monday. Logan didn't take it well. He spiraled online. Accusations, victimhood, rage, then silence. Accounts deleted, profiles locked, stories erased like they never existed. According to mutual friends, he moved back in with his parents. Job interviews stalled when employers found the segment. Dates disappeared after a quick Google search. Meanwhile, my life got quieter. And in that quiet, something better grew. I met Ryan Hale at the animal clinic where I take my dog. When I mentioned my mom wasn't feeling well one afternoon, his first question wasn't about me. "Is she okay?" he asked. "Can I help?" No posts, no captions, no commentary. Just soup delivered to my mom's house. Just kindness without witnesses. Last month, my mom updated her will again. No partners listed, no leverage. Just education funds for future grandchildren and the cancer research donation. Permanent. Looking back, I realized Logan lost everything because he couldn't stop performing. One post, one joke, one belief that other people's pain existed for his benefit. And me? I didn't lose a relationship. I escaped a transaction.